Hola amigos de Wine News TV, les invito a conectar conmigo y con mis invitados en Wine News TV On The Go, un podcast que a su vez es un espacio donde aprenderás sobre el mágico mundo del vino a través de invitados de todas partes del mundo que nos contarán sobre sus proyectos para obsequiarnos de forma embotellada música, fuego y leones, como decía el gran maestro argentino Jorge Luis Borges en su poema Soneto al Vino. Hola amigos de Wine News TV, el podcast. Qué privilegio para mí estar en Orujo, Café Taller Orujo, de mi amigo Carlos Portela. Para mí, el mejor chef de Puerto Rico, uno de los mejores del Caribe, uno de los mejores del mundo. Lo felicito. Estuvo reconocido por la prensa internacional hace poco como uno de los mejores en lo que hace. Y estoy aquí cortesía de Todo Vino Pan American. Vamos a probar los grandiosos vinos de Napa Valley de Buoncristiani. Vinos repletos de equilibrio, mucha fruta, mucha potencia, estructura, pero elegancia, frescura. Buoncristiani, como se escucha, es un nombre o un apellido, en este caso, de ascendencia italiana, pero pues que está haciendo unas grandes etiquetas en California. I'm going to switch over to English now. I'm here with Matt Buoncristiani. This is your first time in Puerto Rico. We're at a gorgeous restaurant, Café Taller Orujo. This is owned and operated by my dear friend Carlos Portela, one of the best, if not the best, of chefs here in Puerto Rico. And we're going to be tasting the Buoncristiani wines. We have a very ambitious agenda. We're going to be tasting 6 wines, 2 whites, 1 Rosato that I love. I think it's a perfect wine for Thanksgiving. You may have seen my posting on this. And then we're going to do 3 reds, a very, very special wine, a unicorn of a wine, one of these reds. Matt, how are you, my friend?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing well. I've been seeing you every day for the past 3 days. I can't complain.
You're a fantastic person, and I look forward to sharing more wine with you, and we have been the past 3 days.
So, we have been doing just that, and I think you've had a very successful trip. The first day we met, it was a packed house at Todo Vino, a lot of people from the trade. And then yesterday we also had an event with consumers, clients of the store. And now here at Orujo, I know you're heading back home tomorrow. What has it, what's your takeaway or your takeaways from this first trip to the island?
Yeah, so my first trip here to Puerto Rico, I really was anticipating the trip. We've been partnered with Pan American for 3 years now. So we're kind of a newer brand in the islands. My takeaway is the cuisine.
Oh, really?
Not just the people. The people are extremely nice. They're very welcoming, which is a refreshing situation in market visits.
Of course.
But the cuisine,
Really?
I enjoy seafood fare. I enjoy complexity. I enjoy spice.
Okay. So you feel right at home with all of those things.
Completely.
That's fantastic. And I want to give props to my friend Edwin Alfonso, who's done a tremendous job in getting this connection done, getting this connection ready between Buoncristiani and Pan American. I also would like to thank my friend Annette, brand manager, who's been very supportive of my platform. Tell me a little bit about Buoncristiani as a family, then we'll get into the wines. Before you do that, I just want to mention that I've been doing this for the past 17, 18 years. And I first came across the name Buoncristiani circa 2008, 2009. I think I read a giant score in Wine Spectator. Uh-huh. And it caught my attention because it reads as an Italian name, because it is Italian. And when I read Buoncristiani Napa Valley, I said, okay, so these are Italians making wine in California. I love Italy. It's like one of my favorite countries in the world. I've been fortunate enough to visit there many times, have friends making wines in Tuscany. I was there last year staying with Castellare di Castellina, my friend Alessandro Cellai, and it's just a gorgeous country overall. And when I read about Buoncristiani, the first thing I did was, is this available in Puerto Rico? This was 14 years ago, and it wasn't.
Right.
And when I heard that you guys were coming down, I was very eager to taste the wines, and the wines are just amazing. So maybe we can start with that. Tell me a little bit
Sure.
about the winery, but before that, the family.
Sure. So the family, the Buoncristiani name is a name directly from the Tuscany region. We're Siamo Toscani in Italian. My grandfather was born in a very small town called Orentano, which is in between Lucca and Pisa in the northern Tuscany range. And he immigrated to California in the late 1920s or so, and established a business in restaurants in San Francisco. Both of my parents were born and raised in San Francisco, and after college moved to Napa Valley in the mid-70s. My dad started making wine on the home winemaking levels with one of his great friends, and this was a cultural annual process. We had a little vineyard in our backyard, and we made wines in the garage.
What did you have? What varietals?
Varieties back then, we had Cabernet Sauvignon and Zinfandel planted.
Right.
The house was right outside of
Did
downtown.
your dad have another different profession? Like, did he have a different career?
Both my parents were educators.
Okay.
So they were not in the wine business at all. Okay. This was a hobby. It's a chateau of love.
It's like what I do with wine. I am an attorney, but this is what
your passion.
What did you call it?
Chateau of love.
Chateau of love. I love it.
Or chateau in a garage.
Chateau in a garage.
Garagiste.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yes. So that's the quick history. And I'm the oldest brother. I have 3 younger brothers, and we all helped in the family tradition of making wine every year, sharing wine with family and friends. And we jokingly say a little bit of child labor impacted into the family, where we were regarded as the vineyard workers, the pruners, the pickers.
Yeah.
And
little child exploitation there.
Sure,
right?
but that's how we learned. That's how we learned.
I'm teasing you. Yeah, yes. It's amazing. And we're going to get into the wines now, and we're going to obviously have brief comments on the history and the family whilst we taste the wines, but I want to get people ready for what we're doing today. So we're doing the Rutherford Sauvignon Blanc, Napa Valley. I absolutely adore this wine because it's fruity. It has lovely notes that remind me of the generosity of the sun in California, but it has equilibrium, it has balance, it has acidity, it has freshness. Tell me about this wine.
Sure. And I think you hit some great descriptors, not just from this wine, but I think as the portfolio as a whole. We feel that the wines that we create are complex, they are layered, and they are very, very balanced. So in particularly this Sauvignon Blanc, we are sourcing fruit from about 25 different growers all over Napa for our whole portfolio. But one particularly, this Rutherford Sauvignon Blanc, is consisting of 2 different clones, the Alsace clone and then a Muscat clone, which this is not your typical Sauvignon Blanc. You're going to get aromas of more tropical fruits, mango and maybe banana, along with the grapefruit and a little bit of grassiness that Sauvignon Blanc can bring. But really importantly is the texture on this wine. We ferment in a little bit of new French oak, old French oak, stainless steel drums, and then we have these 2 large concrete eggs, tanks made out of concrete.
That's a very European thing.
European. Yeah, and adds nice minerality and some textural components that just make this a very lush, but very nice preserved, nice bright acidity and aromatic Sauvignon Blanc. Something you've never tried before.
Yeah, and what I love here is like the string of a guitar. You have precision, and then you have the capacity to generate beautiful noise without being loud. There are a lot of white wines in California nowadays that tend to be on the heavy side and tend to be, too unctuous for my palate. Here, you have richness, but it still does not feel like a weighty, meaty wine. It's fruity instead of being sweet. It's a delicious 100% Sauvignon Blanc. You can get this Buoncristiani. It's only 425 cases with Todo Vino, of course. Love this wine. In terms of food pairings for those listening out there and maybe thinking of buying a bottle, what do you pair this with?
So this will go well with any kind of shellfish. I think would be fantastic. Spicy foods, which is great for the island cuisine here. To be specific, asparagus teleme cheese tart is fantastic with this wine.
You know what I think would go really well with this? I was doing a presentation yesterday via Zoom for about 50 people from a big pharma company in the US. I was, giving them presentation on the six most noble of grapes: Chardonnay, Riesling, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Noir, Merlot, and Cabernet. And I was talking about Sauvignon Blanc and how it pairs really well with stir-fry vegetables. And you add a little bit of sesame, you add a little bit of weight, and different from the Sauv Blancs you see from New Zealand that can be way tropical, or maybe they're very austere and steely, racy from Sancerre. This sort of strikes a chord in between. A lot of your wines are a hypothetical marriage between old world, new world. It's like an Italian meets an American, they get married. You have the generosity, the richness of the new world with the classic, with the classic sense of place and sense of doing things from the old world.
For sure. And we're lucky in Napa Valley, being that it is a world-renowned grape growing region with excellent weather for the Vitis vinifera variety for producing fantastic wines. So we're very lucky.
All right, before we get into the Chardonnay, so you were growing up, you were working with a family, you were tending to the vineyard that your parents had in the backyard. And when did you first think of, maybe I'm going to do this for a living? Because I was reading your bio and you work in the health sector for a bit, right?
Yeah, so I received a Master of Science degree, and I worked in hospitals in San Francisco area for 3 or so years. I was in cardiac rehabilitation.
As an administrator?
No. As an actual physical therapist, working with heart patients.
So you went to medical school?
Well, Master of Science.
Okay, got it.
Not medical school.
All right.
Although some people have their differences in telling other people I was a physician. That's not true.
Okay. You're a physician of the grape.
Physician of the grape, and I still am in the medicinal field, for producing fine wines for health purposes.
Of course, yeah. It's a great recipe for happiness.
Exactly.
My question was, you were growing up with a family, wine was in the backyard, you had access to grapes, you knew your parents had this as a passion. Growing up, when did you first sort of say to yourself, maybe there's something here for me?
So as my brothers and I got older, we were drinking more wine.
Mm-hmm.
My father was making less wine, so there's this balance of supply and demand.
Mm-hmm.
One day he's
you told this yesterday. I love this story.
One day you guys have drinking my cellar completely dry, and I'm cutting back on my production.
So you were stealing alcohol from your parents,
in a way, enjoying it. Let's say sharing it, not stealing it. Okay,
it's a better verb.
So we were like, okay, well, let's start. My father used to enter his homemade wines into local competitions.
Okay.
Home winemaker classics, the county fairs, the state fair. His 74 Petit Syrah won a gold medal.
Did he have a name for his wines back then?
It's called Casamatino. Casamatino. So his original partner, Angel Sierra, his daughter's name was Tina. Firstborn. My name was Matt. So
and Mattina is morning, right?
Mattina is morning in Italian.
Mattina.
House of the morning. Casa
This
Mattina.
is beautiful.
So cool, right?
Do you have any bottles left of Casa Mattina?
There's a few, not very many left.
Oh my God! Okay, I love the story.
So as time goes on, my dad's like, you have to replenish my cellar. Jay and I, my younger brother Jay, who's our current winemaker, we started making wines from 1995 or so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 4 or 5 years before.
And this is whilst you were working with hospitals.
Exactly.
Okay.
I would come home from San Francisco.
Like a side hustle kind of thing.
Side hustle, but it was more to make wine to enjoy with family and friends. We weren't selling it.
And you had an excuse to be with your brothers, right?
There you go. Yeah. and to be with one with the vine and the soil and the terroir.
And this is fruit that you purchased from other growers.
Yes, exactly. Some growers allowed us to go in and pick second crop for free. But we would pick our own grapes and then process and do the whole thing. Yeah.
So now we're into a gorgeous Chardonnay, one of the best I've had this year. It's actually in my list of the top 100 of 2024. And I did not know, I made a note on my little cheat sheet for the best of the year. And last night, you said that you had worked under David Ramey. I interviewed David in 2020 via Instagram Live during the pandemic. What a man. He spoke a bit of Spanish because he had worked with Mexicans. He had lived in Mexico.
He can speak Spanish and French very well.
Amazing man. And to me, he's like master of Chardonnay. He's truly unique.
He's the guru.
He's the guru. And I sensed in this wine a lot of his influence. Tell me about this Chardonnay.
So this Chardonnay, again, we source fruit from 25, 30 different growers in Napa Valley for all the 16 or 17 wines we do annually. This Chardonnay is from Larry Hyde Vineyard, which David Ramey does source from Hyde Vineyard, and then also Stagecoach Vineyard. So you have San Pablo Bay, cooler climate, Carneros influence wines, and then mountain fruit up Stagecoach between Atlas Peak and Pritchard Hill. We ferment the wines separately, and then we blend together to make something a little more complex and balanced and just a spectacular rendition of Chardonnay. We can do 2 Chardonnays and have them bottled separately, but blended together, there's more complexity.
Go ahead.
No, what I'm saying this Chardonnay, we do less malolactic fermentation, we do less new oak, so we really keep this nice bright acidity preserved in the Chardonnay, we are food people and we love food with wine. Having nice bright acidity makes you go back to more wine, makes you go back to more food on your plate in front of you. So,
you remember FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt? Well, maybe you weren't alive when he was there, but you have seen his speeches. So he had depth, and he had gravitas, and he got things done. So here you have fruit, you have depth, and you have this sensation of timeliness. This is a beautiful wine, generous fruit, seriousness, because it's not a bombastic, one-dimensional, buttery Chardonnay that smells like, movie theater popcorn. But you do have that lovely, lovely spicy note from the barrel, but it's in balance with the fruit, with the alcohol, with the acidity. To me, this is a near perfect wine because it has everything that screams California without being the nowadays typical California Chard. So I do see a hybrid of sorts of a real high-end white Burgundy and California. Did I get it wrong?
Yeah. I'll second that, and we do refer to that. This is a great mix of Burgundy style and Napa Valley style. Not too much malolactic fermentation. You do get some nice toastiness, some little cream and vanilla, and a little bit of butter in the nose, but with that spice and the nice baked apple pie. Where the wine really reveals itself is on the palate, and that long-lasting depth and concentration, with the acidity kind of poking through and just perking up your palate to wake you up and go back for more scallops or halibut or monkfish or lobster, whatever's in front of you. Which are great pairings.
It is a gorgeous wine. It's lovely. So we finished the first two wines, which happen to be whites, before we get into the Rosato, which is a wine that I love. So first trials, so to speak, were in the mid-90s for you and your brothers. When did you guys decide to go, oh, we're doing this for real now?
Probably when my parents said, you guys shouldn't do this for real.
I love that.
You go against what the authorities say. So their answer to us when we said, hey, we want to do this for real,
And the four of you came together as a band, so it was unanimous.
Well, no, it wasn't unanimous completely in the very beginning, but it was a majority. Okay. But my parents said, okay, well, where are you going to borrow the money, and where are you going to make the wines? So, well, we naturally said, well, we're going to borrow the starter money from you guys.
From you, of course, yeah.
Why not?
It's your obligation.
And then we'll make the wines in the garage. So my parents have a residential home right outside of downtown Napa. 2-car garage, modest home. We had the federal government come out and designate a bonded winery area in the garage. We are a true garagiste by the term. There was
literally in the garage. Yeah.
There was an interesting loophole way back when in the city limits of Napa. You could start a winery bond in your.
This is mid-90s. Mid-90s.
We got the bond in '98. Our first vintage was '99.
Okay. So 25 years you've been doing this.
This is our 26th harvest. Exactly.
26th harvest.
Yeah.
Okay.
So outside of the city limits of Napa, you needed to have water rights, 10 acres of planted vines, a certain number of feet away from the main highways. I'd say impossible to get a winery bond. In the city limits, there's this weird loophole that our compliance consultants told us about, and the feds come out. Okay, we have to build an 8-foot high fence, 100 square feet in the garage. That's our fermentation area.
Amazing.
They say, where do you put all your must, all of your pressings? Oh, it goes in the backyard, in the vineyard, in the vegetable garden. We rototill it in. Been doing that for years. Okay, you need 2 signatures from neighbors opposing you. We had 1, so we passed. We have the strongest bond.
That's
available.
Determination, my friend. That's determination. So this is a gorgeous wine. I posted about this on my social media platforms. I think this is the perfect wine for Thanksgiving dinner table. You have a gorgeous rosato or rosé or rosado. It's very similar in Italian and in Spanish. It only changes a letter. And this is a wine to me that it drinks like a red, but then it pairs with food like a white. It's a little weird what I just said, but this to me is a gorgeous gastronomic, versatile wine that has best of both worlds, if you will. Tell me about this rosado.
Sure. So we started making the rosato in 2002, actually, and our rosé is definitely different and unique from many rosés out there. You can make rosé out of any red variety. We use Syrah and we use Malbec. Okay, so it's about 70% Syrah, 30% Malbec, and we do the old-fashioned production method of the saignée, which is a French term to bleed. So after we destem the fruit, it's sitting in tank for about an hour, maybe 2 hours at the most. We will bleed away or draw away some juice from the tank, maybe 3 to 5%, and then ferment that separately in a stainless steel kegs or old French oak barrels. And we have all these little components of rosé from all of our Syrah and Malbec lots. And it's a full-bodied rosé. It's deeper in color because of the varieties that we use. We're sourcing Syrah and Malbec from Stagecoach Vineyard and Howell Mountain and Hyde Vineyard. So this is high-end rosé from these fantastic properties.
It is a fantastic wine, this rosato. What do you pair this rosado with? Because to me, it is very versatile. And again, I want you to also touch on the art, the label, which is fantastic.
So with this rosato, you could do a whole slew of different foods. You can do shellfish. You can do barbecued ribs, spicy ribs off the grill. You can do hamburgers. It transcends white pairings and red pairings, as you had mentioned in the very beginning. Smells like a red and tastes like a white.
It's explosive
Yes.
in the watermelon or the rose, literally rose, like a rose you give to a girlfriend or a dear one. It smells like roses. It also has that lovely strawberry lemony note to it, and then it has enough fruit to pair with substance, with protein, but it's not sweet. I
No.
posted about this yesterday, and somebody said, "Is it sweet?" And I said, "No, it's fruity, but it's not
Yeah.
sweet."
Yeah, we ferment everything dry. So, um, and you had mentioned, I think yesterday too, perfect pairing would be Thanksgiving with the turkey, the cranberries, the stuffing,
The salad, because of
yeah,
the watermelon notes and
yeah,
we know that the key in all white wines is acidity, and in reds is tannin, and this has both.
for sure.
I love it. So now let's get into a wine that I absolutely adore. This is another wine that's in my top 100. So there are going to be two Buoncristiani wines. This is the unicorn. This is I'm going to let you say it. What am I drinking? And this is weird. This is like watching Woody Allen doing a movie in Buenos Aires instead of New York. Like, this is Malbec from Napa Valley. Tell me about
Malbec, and we love Malbec.
Oh,
this is a variety that has been in our portfolio as a blending wine since the year 2000. We use it in our OPC proprietary red, which we'll try next, and a little bit in the Cabernet Sauvignon. This is, of course, Malbec is a Bordeaux variety. It's from the Cahors region, which is the mountainous region of Bordeaux. So we like to say we pay homage to this variety by sourcing Malbec from the eastern hillsides of Napa Valley, the Vaca Mountain Range, particularly Stagecoach Vineyard, and then also property up on Howell Mountain. And Argentinians obviously have made
nowadays the best Malbecs in the world are from there. This is the best non-Argentine Malbec I've had in my life. Let me ask you, when was two points in time, I guess. The first time someone said, "Let's plant Malbec here," and then the second question would be, or the second point in time, when did you guys first taste that Malbec and said, "Oh my God, this Malbec is amazing"? Who said, "Let's plant Malbec," and what was the reaction the first time you had it?
Okay, so Malbec is not widely planted in Napa at all.
It is not.
So there are growers that are understanding the importance of Malbec as a Bordeaux variety, and it's an importance in the blending process of red blends. When I know for a fact, when my brother Jay was the winemaker at Hess Collection Winery, they started this series called the Small Block Series, which is only available in the tasting room or the wine club.
Okay.
They would do eclectic varieties: Petit Syrah, Viognier, Malbec, maybe some Arnais.
With Donald's fruit in California.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I think the affinity started way back when. And then when we found growers that were cultivating Malbec, we started integrating that variety with our blends. And then finally it took, from 99 to 2008, it took, 9-10 years for us to be, okay, well, this is a variety we want to label on its own, still use it as a blending grape, and then showcase what we can do with Malbec from the mountain ridges in Napa Valley. And
what's really interesting is that obviously your last name is Buoncristiani. It's not Rodriguez. You're not Argentine, right. So it would have made sense had you guys had an Argentine heritage. It would have been much more, I guess, attuned to your background if you had made Sangiovese from Napa.
Sure.
But you chose Malbec, and it's spectacular. Have you shared this wine with Argentine winemakers who specialize in Malbec?
We did do a trade with the owners of Palmaz.
Of course.
And the feedback was excellent.
Excellent. Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
So
it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a great wine. For those listening, this retails for around $75, $80, and it's a gorgeous bottle of wine, a different interpretation of Malbec.
380 cases.
Yeah, it's a
very small production.
Small production. Obviously, you don't have the altitude you have in Napa, but you have the elegance. You have the, I mean, you don't have the altitude you have in Mendoza, but you do have the elegance, the plush, lush fruit, and you also have the elegance that post very the aftertaste, the lingering freshness, minty menthol uh, tones that come back on the palate from the throat up. It's a wine that has layers and layers and layers of fruit, but it has a very smooth, fresh landing. Gorgeous wine, man.
I agree.
Gorgeous
plush,
wine.
Plush.
Plush.
Full-bodied plush.
Without being fat.
Without being fat. No,
without
nice
being
acidity.
Nice clean acidity, a little bit of a florality. Malbec has notes of violets. There's a florality to it. And then you have the pepper, the cassis. You also have this vibrant tannin structure. It's a gorgeous wine. It is a gorgeous wine. And I think it will age beautifully. If you started making this Malbec in 2009, 2010, let's say that, I'm fortunate enough to buy a Malbec from 2013. Is it aging well?
Yes, very well. It's going to age just like our Cabernet and Cabernet blends.
All right, let's get into the next to last wine because I know you have other events today. I don't want to keep you for too long. I love the story behind this, the OPC significance or the meaning behind this. So tell me about the Buoncristiani OPC.
So the OPC proprietary red, this is our original wine we started with actually 3 years before we became a winery in 1999. So OPC we started in 1996. The acronym OPC stands for Old Pa's Cuvée. Pa for Grandpa. This is my tribute to my mom's dad. We called Pa for Grandpa, and his affinity to drinking red blends. My father told us this story well after Old Pa had passed, and when we were taking over the home winemaking operations to replenish all of the wines that we depleted.
Exactly.
Old Pa really loved drinking blends, and I really never made a blend. I only did 100% varietal stuff. So we took it upon ourselves. We like making blends. We like the artistic integration of wine, and so we came up with OPC. And so this predominantly every year is Cabernet, Syrah, Merlot, and Malbec. And it's not just the 4 varieties. It's from 20 different vineyard blocks all over Napa Valley, from Carneros up to Calistoga. So you're including Larry Hyde Vineyard, you're including Stagecoach Vineyard properties in Howell Mountain and Coombsville and Calistoga. So it's really a fantastic blend of the whole valley. We're trying to emulate this mouthfeel and this offering every year. So the blends and the percentages will change a bit. But for us, it's about the fruit forwardness of this wine, the structure, the tannin profile. We call it kind of a crowd pleaser wine. We've converted white wine only drinkers to OPC because it is
what I feel, what I sense, what I get from all of your wines, and this is an homage to your motherland of Italy, is that it reminds me of a Ferrari. You can go up to 200 miles and you don't feel it inside the car. You don't feel it. If you go to 200 miles in a Fiat, you'll probably start shaking. Your bones are going to shake. But you have a lot of structure, a lot of fruit. The alcohol is in check. It's there. But it's very smooth. It's a smooth ride.
Yeah. No, it's a good
analogy, right?
Good analogy, yes.
Yeah, it's riding in a Ferrari. You can be going at 180, 200 miles per hour, and you can probably, I don't know, draw inside the car.
Yeah, right.
Paint something. Stable, very stable.
Yes.
And that's equilibrium. For me, this is a gorgeous wine. Everything is in check, and you have, all of the characteristics that each of the grapes bring to the table. You have that structure from the cab. You have the cracked pepper. The Syrah brings to the table the meatiness. You also have that lovely, lovely sort of freshness, minty thing brought from. You have a little bit of Malbec and Merlot here, lush, plush fruit, beautiful wine, and in balance. Everything is in order. It's like when you go into a hotel for the first time in the room, and everything is exactly where it needs to be.
There you go.
All right, lovely, lovely wine. What do you pair this with?
So OPC is pretty versatile, and depending on the consumer, you can do burgers, you can do bolognese,
Of course.
you can do ossobuco. I love this during the fall and winter times with roasted stews, something that's marinating on the stove or in the oven on slow temperatures, and you're just building these different layers of flavors and concentration, just like you would in a roast or a stew, because this mimics this wine. It's a compilation of 4 varieties and 20 different vineyard blocks that have been blended over time to make this complex offering. So, someone likes steaks, they can eat a steak with this for sure.
Not because you're here, but I have this giant affinity for Italian wines because they have gripping acidity in both reds and whites. Typically, you associate acidity with white wines, but it's key in reds as well because it also aids in digestion. As you know, Italians use a lot of tomato, and tomato is a fruit, but it's acidic, and you need to have something that can pair with that. And in your reds, despite the fact that they come from very warm weather, you have fruit and you have freshness from the acidity. And to me, that's balance. That's gorgeous. All right, let's get into the last wine of this interview. And this is something that I also adored. 2018 was a near perfect vintage in Napa. Tell me about this Cabernet Sauvignon.
So this is we call the cream label Cabernet because of the color of the label. This is our original wine we started with back in 1999, our very first vintage of the Buoncristiani family winery. We started with these 2 wines, OPC and Cabernet Sauvignon. This Cabernet is typically from 3 different vineyard properties in Napa Valley. So you're talking Stagecoach Vineyard, you're talking a property on Howell Mountain, and then also the property that we source fruit from in Coombsville, which is the newest AVA in Napa Valley. And it's predominantly Cabernet. Every year we will put a little bit of Malbec in here. So this vintage, I believe, is 3% Malbec. Some vintages we have 1% Merlot or 1% Petit Verdot, but it is predominantly Cabernet Sauvignon. It's a masterpiece. It's a monster masterpiece.
Yeah, but it has grace. It's big, it's powerful, but it's prudent. It's Dear Prudence, the song by John Lennon. What a genius. It does have this freshness. It does have this minty, leafy, bit of a roasted vegetable kind of thing, currant, thick paste. And at the end, this refreshing quality to it that, in spite of its heft, in spite of its weight, it does have grace. It's like Shaquille O'Neal on stilettos, walking down a runway, right? A monster, but on high heels, right? Yeah, it's a terrible image, what I just told you. Shaquille O'Neal on high heels, right? but doing it fine, like walking like Cindy Crawford, right?
Sure.
This is a gorgeous bottle of wine, my friend. Gorgeous bottle of wine.
And I do have to mention, though, both the OPC and the Cabernet, these are still babies.
Oh yeah. We're committing a crime. This is a felony. We should be put in jail for this.
These are wines that will last 30 years, no problem, if you have the right storage and temperature controlled facility.
This is the wine that I want to get a 2013 from you signed, because my son, who's 11, will probably be able to enjoy this when he's 30.
Yes.
And when he's 30, how old am I going to be? I'm going to be like 70 or something, more than that. What a wine, man. What a gorgeous wine.
I tell people I love our Cabernets between the 8 and 15-year range. It takes patience. The wine business is patience.
Yeah.
You get one crop per year. nowadays in California, we're dealing with fires, we're dealing with drought, we're dealing with temperature, climate spikes in heat. It makes a lot of growing situations very difficult.
Yeah, challenging.
So it's very challenging, but this wine gives you some great. You'd mentioned the cassis before, licorice, some blue and black fruits, maybe a little bit of herbaceous, like
Of course. Is it
dried
whole?
sage.
Do you do whole clusters?
No. It's all
No?
destemmed, and
They stem
we
whole
don't do
fruit
any
and that,
carbonic maceration or any of that.
but that leafy note, that tobacco,
Yeah.
the tanning, that it's giving me a vibrant, fresh tension of something just tiny bit green. The amaro, the Italians say
Yeah.
amaro, something that's a little bitter but nice in a nice
Yes.
way.
Yeah.
Where does that come
I
from?
would say more of a black olive, if I can.
Yes,
Okay.
tapenade.
There you go, tapenade. I think it's from probably the Coombsville property, which is cooler climate, but it's going to be the next Oakville coming up. It's alluvial fan, southeast, close to Carnero, so it's volcanic soil, red iron soil. That's because it's cooler climate, we can let the fruit hang for a long period of time to mature in a slower temperate kind of situation.
Amazing wine, Matt. I'm gonna mention a competition for you guys, but it retails for twice the price. Bacchus from Phelps, which is 100%. It is, but it's $400. This is 200 or less than that.
Sure.
And obviously, Bacchus has higher demand. It's been around for a longer period of time. Gorgeous wine, but for those of you out there listening to me, if you want to buy something that will really blow the wig off of a bald man, this is an amazing
That's a good visual.
Yeah, it's an amazing Cabernet Sauvignon. Okay, before we wrap up, we're not tasting it today, but I had it yesterday. Tell me about the core.
Okay, so the core, this is a wine that is our black label Cabernet. We call it Darth Vader, or at least I do, because
I love Darth Vader.
Of the color of the label. This is a wine that we started in 2006.
Okay.
The core is actually in this cab we just drank. So about a third of this cab has that vineyard source, the Coombsville property. And we needed to separate some of that wine off and have it on its own. It is the creme de la creme of Buoncristiani.
The piece de résistance.
There you go. And it's very small production, 150 to 200 cases a year. Yeah. It's a wine that is big, rich, opulent, very polished tannins. Up there,
Suede, velvet.
There you go.
Yeah.
Up there with those first growth Napa quality wines. At the price.
Yes, I had Harlan 2016 about 2 years ago, $1,100 a bottle, gorgeous wine, but the core is a quarter of that.
200 or
the core is. I had it last night. I just had lunch with my friend from childhood, Fernando Arteaga, and I told him, the core, it was a crime. It was a crime to drink that baby last night. But my God, your wines are amazing. So what's next? Before we wrap up, it's been 42 minutes. Time has really flown by. I know that you guys, as brothers, and I love the fact this is a family venture, are always thinking of what's next, are always trying to improve and give your clients and consumers the best of experiences. And it seems to me that you're all like the hamster on the wheel that can never be quiet, like can never be still. What are you guys working on? What's next? If you can give us a little whiff of the future. Are you coming out with new labels, new investigations, new research, new projects?
Sure. Well, I think the strive is always for excellence, and with that may come new sources of certain fruits that will add to the portfolio. We've been making very eclectic varieties like Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre, Tannat blend from Alder Springs. We've been doing some Viognier here and there, some Petit Syrah.
You mentioned last night that you have, and it's a good number, you have like 8-9 labels with Pan American, but you actually make like 17.
We make about 17 different wines. We do our own olive oil. So my brother Jay has some olive trees on his property, and it's very Tuscan in style,
I
spicy.
love olive oil is my
We do our own grappa, which is for wine club situation only.
Last time I had grappa, I called my wife Teresa, and her name is Maria. So yeah, I can't have grappa.
No,
but olive oil. Oh my God.
Maybe Teresa was an old girlfriend. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it was like from Garcia Marquez. Maybe I read Teresa somewhere, and I said, "I love you, Teresa," and she said, "My name is Maria." And we've been married 20 years.
That's awesome. Yeah. So for us,
Portela is laughing. He knows my wife. Yeah.
For us, the importance is to maintain relationships with Puerto Rico is a new exporting.
How many countries are you guys in?
So we're in Canada, we're in Japan, we're in Puerto Rico, we're in South Korea. Those are the main exports outside of the U.S. Inside the U.S.,
I just love it. That Puerto Rico, a tiny island in the middle of nowhere,
it's great,
is among those other big countries.
But that tells you like the passion that the Puerto Ricans have for, of course, fine wine and fine cuisine.
And we'll keep on buying Buoncristiani because they kick ass. I just have to now put explicit on this Spotify. These wines kick ass, man. These wines are amazing. They're masterpieces. Because again, I think that, and I don't want to get too political here, but obviously the United States is a nation made of immigrants. And from the old world, you have this joie de vivre, the pleasure of living, and also old school know-how. And you have this cross between the Italian way of doing things, which has been around since the Italians actually dominated the world for six centuries with the Roman Empire, with this lush, generous California sun and liberty and freedom and democracy that we have in the United States. These wines kick ass, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you, and we appreciate the grassroots efforts that get the Buoncristiani name out there and try it. When you get a bottle of Buoncristiani, you're going to know that what's inside is going to be very high quality, good value.
And the message of family being behind, and a labor of love, and you guys ransacking your grandpa's cellar, and you're asking your dad for money as a paternal obligation.
That's paid back, by the way. Yeah, with interest a long time ago.
That's beautiful. I love this, and I love Italy is family, and Italy is everlasting joy of living, and this does come across in these wines. Matt, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I know this is going to be the first of many, because next year I'm probably traveling with Fernando to California, and I will tell him, if you don't bring me to Buoncristiani, I won't post shit on my social media. Now that I can say that because it's explicit now.
Yes, it is.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Eduardo. We appreciate the exposure and the time that you give our brand.
It's a pleasure. Nice. Mi gente linda, 47 minutos hablando con Matt Buoncristiani aquí desde Café Taller Orujo, el restaurante de Carlos Portela, mi querido amigo, el mejor chef de Puerto Rico, Buoncristiani. Qué vinos espectaculares, llenos de fruta, de potencia, pero de elegancia, equilibrio. Y es un cruce de lo que Italia hizo por muchos años, que fue dominar al mundo a través de su cultura, de su arte, de su saber, con el sol generoso, la fruta, la libertad y la democracia de los Estados Unidos en el estado de California. Gracias por escucharnos. Recuerden darnos follow, compartir este podcast, este episodio, y por supuesto recordar que en el mundo del vino lo más importante no es el destino, la meta, sino el recorrido o el viaje, una copa a la vez. Salud, mi amigo.
¡Salud!
Este fue el episodio de hoy. Recuerda dejarnos una reseña para que nos ayudes a crecer, suscribirte y recomendarnos con tus amigos amantes del vino. No importa cuán avanzado estés en el recorrido de enamorarte de aquello que decían sobre el vino. Son uvas transformadas en poesía. Aquí hay espacio para todos. Salud y como siempre, dale share.